Good morning and welcome to the United Oil and Gas Investor presentation. Throughout this recorded presentation, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged and can be submitted at any time via the Q&A tab situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. Simply type in your questions and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during the meeting itself. However, the company can review all questions submitted today and publish responses where it's appropriate to do so. Before we begin, I'd like to submit the following poll. I'd now like to hand you over to Brian Larkin, CEO. Good morning, sir.
Good morning and thank you, and good morning everyone, and thank you for joining the call this morning. We've had quite a flurry of announcements recently, so I wanted to take this opportunity to add a bit more context, to put some meat on the bones, and share where things stand today, what we're working on the road ahead over the coming weeks and months. There's a slide deck available on our website, and that's what I'll be walking through this morning. And I've also shared it on your screen, so hopefully everybody can see it. The presentation itself should take about 10 to 15 minutes. It's a relatively short presentation. And after that, I'm happy to take questions. I know some have already been submitted, but you can also use the text box on your screen to send in questions as we go, and I'll do my best to cover them at the end. So just moving on to the slides. I assume everybody's read the disclaimer. So slide 3, just to give a quick overview and reminder of our Jamaican license. United currently holds 100% of the Walton Morant license. It's just under 22,500 square kilometers, and it's located off the southern offshore coast of Jamaica. The license covers two very distinct basins, the Walton Basin on the left and the Morant Basin on the right. One of the most exciting features about this acreage is the quality of the source rock. It's of a similar age and type to the rocks that have generated billions of barrels of oil in places like Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, and across the wider Caribbean. So far, we've identified approximately 40 prospects and leads with a combined potential of more than 7 billion barrels of recoverable resources. The project's economics are extremely attractive and are underpinned by a production sharing contract or agreement with the government of Jamaica with a low break-even oil price of roughly $25 a barrel. In a success case, for example, say a single 400 million barrel development well, the project could deliver an NPV value of around $4 billion. So for a company of United size, having access to a license of this scale is quite unique. And it's the kind of opportunity that would be the envy of much larger players. So moving to slide 4 and a quick recap on what's been achieved this year so far. And it's hard to believe we're in mid-October already. Well, it may have seemed quite quiet externally. We've been extremely busy and working very hard behind the scenes, both to de-risk the project technically and to advance our farm out campaign. Earlier this year, we secured an extension of the license through to January 2028. And that's important for two reasons. Firstly, it's a clear vote of confidence from the Jamaican government and from MSET, the ministry, in United's ability to deliver. Secondly, it gives us tenure and certainty on the license, which is critical for any farming partner. They'll need to know that there's sufficient time to execute and evaluate the full work program and its results. We've also completed a risking evaluation report this year, pulling together all of the technical work from over the past year. And this has really been the highlight of the year for us for a couple of reasons. That report delivered two standout findings for us. Firstly, it verified a working petroleum system onshore Jamaica. And secondly, it confirmed that successful piston coring results offshore would significantly reduce the exploration risk and could trigger a major uplift in project value for us. This report's on our website, and I'd encourage all of our shareholders to have a read of it. We've also made real progress on permitting, securing the environmental approvals and the beach license in Q3. And excitingly, we've also signed an MOU to secure a vessel for the piston coring work, and I'll talk about that over the next few slides. So the piston coring survey. So on slide 5, what is the piston coring survey? Why now? And more importantly, why do we believe it will work? So in simple terms, the survey involves collecting between 40 and 60 seabed samples to directly confirm the presence of hydrocarbons at the seabed. Now, we already know that there's a working petroleum system onshore. That's been verified in the risking report. And historically, 11 wells have been drilled in Jamaica, 9 onshore, 2 offshore, all showing hydrocarbon presence. The last of these wells was drilled in 1982. We've also identified active oil seeps onshore, and we've shared photos and videos of those across our social media channels. The goal now, particularly with the piston coring work, is to connect the dots. It's to demonstrate continuity between that proven onshore system and the offshore basins. Now, why are we confident that it will work? Well, we've already mapped vertical fluid escape features and seabed pock marks, which are strong indicators of hydrocarbon migration. The satellite imagery also shows repeated slick anomalies, suggesting that there's active seepage, and amplitude data indicates potential source intervals. So in short, if this program confirms hydrocarbons at seabed, it will provide evidence that there's an active petroleum system offshore Jamaica, and this would materially reduce geological risk. It increases the project's overall chance of success, which in turn we'd expect to see reflected in shareholder value. It's also a very powerful tool for our ongoing farm campaign and discussions. So where are we? On slide 6. On slide 6, you can see photographs of the piston coring equipment on either side and a schematic image in the center showing how the process actually works. Essentially, the piston core is a long weighted tube that's driven into the seabed to collect samples of sediment and mud for analysis. Now, importantly, this work is low impact and it's environmentally safe. There's no disturbance or damage once the samples are collected. And to be honest, there isn't really much more to add to this. It's a fairly straightforward, simple piece of work, but it delivers high value results. Our slide deck, there we go. Sorry, slide 7, it's jumped across. I hope everybody can follow it. The slide deck seems to lock on me there. But on slide 7, moving to slide 7, the vessel and our partner for this piece of the work program, TDI Brooks. For anyone not familiar, TDI Brooks is a US-based research and services company that specializes in exactly this kind of offshore geochemical and geotechnical work. They're very experienced, they're highly regarded internationally, and we've signed an MOU with them to secure the vessel. It's scheduled to be available in the fourth quarter of this year, but the current guidance is that that boat will come on contract with United in mid-December. The survey itself should only take about 2 weeks, and we expect to receive results in early Q1 next year. So it's a very short time frame for shareholders. There's also a significant cost saving by doing this work now. This vessel will be passing Jamaican waters en route to Trinidad, which means we will avoid the normal mobilization and demobilization costs, which is not insignificant. And needless to say, as we work through operations, we'll be updating our shareholders at every step along the way. Slide 8 looks at the risking uplift in a bit more detail and the commissioned risking report that we published just a couple of weeks ago. So as part of the mandate, we asked Lapidus to independently assess the piston coring program and the potential value that it could unlock for us. Excuse me. I've had a head cold for the last few weeks and I'm trying to shake off, so I do apologize if I'm a bit croaky. But the results of this independent risking report were excellent. The Cleobury prospect's chance of drilling success improved from 1 in 5 to 1 in 3, and Oriel improved from 1 in 8 to 1 in 5. Now, as I've mentioned earlier, a positive piston coring result would further de-risk the entire offshore play for us, effectively joining the dots between the verified onshore system and the offshore basins. And importantly, this uplift isn't just limited to those 2 prospects. It extends across the wider license. And if this work is successful, and we believe it will be for the reasons that I've outlined a few moments ago, this would represent a genuine step change in value, both for the project and therefore you would expect for our shareholders. So just to talk about the value a little bit more, and slide 9 puts some numbers behind that and what this could actually mean for shareholders. So according to the Tennyson Research Note published in July 2024, Colibri was valued at about $83 million net risk to United, and that was based on a 19% chance of exploration success. Now, I don't want to bamboozle anybody with numbers here, so stick with me, but the new risking report updates that success chance to 32% following successful piston core and survey. Applying those numbers to the Tennyson note increases Calibri's net risk value to around $140 million US. That's an uplift of $57 million to United's project value. Combine that with Oriole, and the total uplift reaches approximately $75 million US. And as I've said before, this de-risking effect carries across the broader portfolio of prospects and needs. So the overall impact for us could be absolutely huge. These numbers are supported by the more recent Tennyson note that was released last week. And again, I'd encourage all of our shareholders to have a read of it. It's on our website. The recent equity raise that we announced last week is specifically to fund this work, to unlock this value for our shareholders now. Beyond the immediate technical results, the survey will also add real momentum to the farm-out discussions, both technically and commercially, and we don't have to wait that long for the results. As I've said, we should have the results Q1 next year, so it's a very short time frame for shareholders. On slide 10, just to wrap up, it's been a short presentation, but I hope I've shown the technical rationale and the commercial opportunity that this program represents. A successful piston core and survey will contribute real evidence to support an active petroleum system offshore Jamaica, essentially joining the dots, as I've said. It will lift our exploration chance of success. If it's successful, it'll materially enhance the project's value, and it'll create meaningful upside for our shareholders. And in order to unlock that value, it's important for shareholders to support this equity raise so we can go and chase this upside now and not wait. And finally, just before I open the floor to some questions, I'd just like to thank a few key groups while I've got the chance. Firstly, the Government of Jamaica and the Ministry for their ongoing support, cooperation and confidence in what we're trying to do. Also our partners and advisors who continue to help us progress the project efficiently and, more importantly, safely. And finally, to our shareholders, I know it's been a bumpy road, but thank you for your continued belief and patience. We are now making real progress on this project. We have a pathway to unlock significant value by executing this work program. And we believe over the coming months, we could be genuinely game changing for this project for us in terms of value realization. And I guess with that, I'm happy to take any questions that may be submitted. Please do bear in mind some questions I may not be answered for commercial reasons, and we'll also try to avoid duplication where possible. So I think, Anne, I'll pass to you for any questions that may have been submitted.
Brian, thank you very much for your presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, please do continue to submit your questions just by using the Q&A tab situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. Just while the company take a few moments to review those questions submitted today, I'd like to remind you that a recording of this presentation, along with a copy of the slides and the published Q&A, can be accessed via your investor dashboard. As you can see, we have received a number of questions throughout today's presentation. Annie, could I please hand back to you to read out the questions, and I'll pick up from you at the end.
Anne? Not sure what's happening. Maybe.
Hi, Annie. I've just requested control. If you could just accept that. Thank you.
I've had a
Hi,
couple of
Abby.
questions emailed directly to me, which I'm happy to take as well. Can you walk us through the expected timeline for the piston coring survey, when the work will actually take place, and when can shareholders expect to see results? Well, the latest guidance we have from TDI Brooks is that the vessel will come on contract mid-December approximately. We're somewhat reliant on the vessel completing the work that it's currently engaged in, so that could be a little bit fluid. It could come forward a week or two, it could be pushed out a week or two, but the latest guidance we have is the vessel will come on contract mid-December. The work will take approximately 2 weeks. We would imagine early results in the beginning of Q1. And we'll obviously keep our shareholders updated as best we can along the way, such as when the rig gets into Jamaica, when it's going through our waters, when it comes on contract. That will all be announceable. We'll also get quite a lot of coverage for our social media in terms of pictures of the vessel and things like that. So it should be an exciting period ahead. You know, we're in the 16th of October today, so not long to wait until that vessel comes on stream and comes on contract. So yeah, it's really exciting, and results early Q1. So a really short time frame for shareholders to have to wait for results. There's a few more I've actually got submitted in to me. You mentioned that successful piston coring would join the dots between the onshore and offshore. Could you explain what that means for technical de-risking of the project? Yeah, of course. What we already know from the risking report that we had commissioned is that there's a proven working petroleum system onshore Jamaica. That piston coring survey allows us now to test the system offshore to effectively join the dots. If the cores confirm the presence of or traces of hydrocarbons, it would demonstrate system continuity, and that means our main prospects, Calibri and Oriel's risking would change, and therefore the value of those to United, project value of those should change, and again we should see that reflected in shareholder value. It's a short, really non-evasive piece of work. It's a very simple piece of work, but as I've mentioned in the presentation, it is actually high value work in terms of its results. I have another question as well. How should shareholders think about the potential value from this work, both for individual prospects like Calibri and Oriel and the wider license area? Well, the value impact is substantial, and based on the risking report done by Lapidus and the increase in chances of success in a success case of the piston coring work going well, if you apply the results of those numbers to the Tennyson research note, we can see a significant uplift in project value to United, combined between Oriel and Calibri of approximately $75 million. And more importantly, as we've said, we'd expect to see that risking profile evolve and extrapolate out across all of our prospects and leads across the entire portfolio. You would anticipate and expect to see the value of that reflected in our share price as we complete that work and announce the results. So this piece of the work program is really about unlocking that value now and not waiting for it to come to us. We're grasping the net, we're going to make it happen ourselves, which is, you know, a clear line to value realization for shareholders.
Brian, sorry, can you hear me now?
Can hear you now, Anne, yeah.
Sorry about that, Brian. Just had a technical difficulty with the microphone. I had some questions sent in last night. I'm just going to ask them now. Can you talk us through the expected timeline for the piston coring survey, when the work will actually take place and when shareholders can expect to see results?
Yeah, I've taken that one on. We've addressed that one.
Apologies. Technical impact. You mentioned that successful piston coring could join the dots.
Yeah, we've taken that one as well.
Okay. You've covered TDI Brooks.
Yeah, so yeah, there was a question on TDI Brooks, all right, about the partnership with TDI Brooks. Can you expand on why you chose them and the benefits of doing the work now?
Yeah.
TDI Brooks have a world-class record in this specific type of work. Vessel availability was also a big thing. We have a couple of windows which are open to us right now. Firstly is a weather window. We're outside of the hurricane season, so that's critically important. Secondly is having the permitting in place. Permitting did take longer than we would have liked for a couple of reasons. We had to slightly restructure our local corporate branch. That took a bit longer than anticipated. And secondly, Jamaica doesn't have a mature oil and gas industry. So there's a little bit about finding our way in order to get the permitting all in place. That's now done now, and it's in place until early Q2 next year. So there's two windows. There's a weather window and there's a permitting window. There was also a vessel being available. And one of the most important reasons to do it now is actually the cost saving. The vessel will be passing by Jamaican waters in December, and we could avail of a significant cost saving, probably as much as $1 million to $1.5 million US by avoiding mobilization and demobilization costs. So major cost savings, which is obviously critically important. So it's an efficient use of capital. Also, with the point where we're at in the farm out and discussions that are currently ongoing and the evaluations that are currently ongoing, it makes perfect sense to get this done now. There's an opportunity to do it now. There's an opportunity to try and capture some value as the farm out process advances. And in fact, I'm very pleased to say that in the last 48 hours, we have had additional companies that have not been in the process reach out and ask about non-disclosure agreements and looking at data since we've announced this piece of work. And that's really, really encouraging. Since we announced this last week, or the week before now, was it last week? The weeks are becoming a blur. I do apologize. We've had so many RNSs in the last week. But in the last week or so, since we've announced this, we've actually had other companies reach out to us and ask about attending the data room. And that's a demonstration that we're doing the right thing here. The industry is watching. Make no mistake about it. This is one of the last great unexplored frontiers, and we're seeing exploration come back onto the agendas of the majors like BP, like Exxon, like Chevron, like Shell. They're all reestablishing exploration strategies. And having a project like ours, which is essentially ready to go, which has all of the ingredients that the majors look for in terms of its scale, its size, its potential operating costs, its economics, let alone the technical ingredients like the source rock and the things we've spoken about before, and the oil seeps and the gas seeps and this piece of the work program. All of the ingredients are here now. This is the final piece of the jigsaw, and we're really excited to get this piece kicked off. So it is critically important that shareholders support this equity raise so that we can actually deliver real value. I'd say months ahead, but really in the weeks ahead. We'll be taking this vessel on contract mid-December, results early Q1. It's a very short time frame for us to have to wait to realize or unlock this value.
Okay, another question. What timescale does the board envisage is required to complete a senior financier farm-in?
Well, it's a good question. And, look, there's a lot of activity in the data room right now, as I've just mentioned, and we're absolutely thrilled with this. Like literally in the last 48 hours, we've had more companies approach us. So we're kind of open-minded on timelines now, and we have to be. There's a value opportunity on the table for us here too. It's about us juggling the process, the value opportunity, and making sure we're getting the best possible deal we can for our shareholders. In order to unlock that value in a farm out, doing these pieces of work is critically important. We've continued to work really hard in the background technically. We're always technically trying to de-risk this project as best as we can. We're not just running a farm out process here. We're also doing a lot of technical work, the results of which you guys, our shareholders, have seen in the last 2 to 3 weeks. It's very difficult to put timelines on these things. What's more important is getting the best deal, the best value deal, and delivering the best value we can for our shareholders. It's really, We have to focus on what we're trying to achieve here. This is about unlocking a multi-$100 million barrel opportunity at a fraction of the cost by doing this work and making sure that we're putting as much evidence together as we can to create as much value as we can in the farm out. So any further questions, Anne?
Just how does the early license extension to 2028 change United's strategic options in Jamaica? Will you still pursue a single farm out model, or are multi-partner options on the table?
Everything is on the table, to be perfectly frank. Everything is on the table. We'll try and do our best to create as much value as we can for our shareholders in that farm out, and I wouldn't want to rule anything out at this stage or rule anything in at this stage. We're open to all suggestions. It's about moving the project forward and value creation.
Okay, and do you anticipate needing to raise additional equity before farm out completion, particularly if the survey or permit work costs increase?
Highly unlikely. As we announced as part of this equity raise, we announced in the RNS that United, on completion of this equity raise at our GM on the 27th of October, the company is fully funded right throughout 2026. So no, we've no need. We took a pretty sharp knife to our G&A over a year ago, and we cut costs significantly. So the company, including funding of this work program, is essentially funded throughout 2026.
Okay, that's it for the moment, Brian.
Okay, I guess just to wrap up, thank you all for your time this morning. It was a relatively short presentation. If anything else comes to mind, please do drop us an email. Where we can, we'll respond. Please be conscious that some of the questions I get can be commercially sensitive, and I can't answer them. Where we can, we will always endeavour to answer them. In the meantime, thank you for your support, your patience. I know it's been a bumpy road. It's important we get this next stage of the work program done. We're getting more and more interest in the project. Literally, in the last 48 hours, we've had inbound inquiries, which is really, really encouraging. That alongside the existing interest we have in the farm out process and in the data room. So thank you to our shareholders for your support and patience. Also, thank you to my team for their hard work. They've done an incredible amount of work in the background over the last number of months, and we're starting to see the real results of that now. We will keep you posted via our news flow and our social media platforms and progress over the next couple of weeks. And we look forward to getting this piece of work done. Thank you, everybody.
Brian, thank you for updating investors today. Can I please ask investors not to close this session, as you'll now be automatically redirected to provide your feedback in order that the management team can better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments to complete, and I'm sure will be greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of United Oil and Gas PLC, we'd like to thank you for attending today's presentation, and good morning to you all.